In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed the sea. Welcome to a brand new episode of Movies and Me, and today, this is a special episode because not only is this the 10th episode of Movies and Me, but I have with me a very dear friend of mine all the way from my hometown, and the person who actually designed my Movies and Me logo. Please welcome to the show, Miss Emily Monaghan. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this film.
All right, and before we get into the movie that you've chosen, which I know you've been telling me to watch this pretty much ever since we met, but we can start there.
Yeah.
Let's let the audience know a bit of our origin story. Now, I'm curious to see what your take is on it before I compare it to what my take is on it. So, it's your episode. You go right ahead.
Okay, so I met Nolan when I was at a 30 Seconds to Mars concert. We started talking and we immediately started talking about movies, and I think it was Mad Max, Fury Road, we started talking about it, and we both just realised we are both massive dorks, and we love movies, and ever since then we've been, going to see movies together and just always talking about them. It's destined to be.
God, you make it sound like the beginning of a movie there. That's pretty much the same as I was thinking. I mean, I took you to a lot of premieres when I had the chance to. I believe we saw Deadpool and The Jungle Book together, if I'm not mistaken. Probably more, but I'm blanking on them now.
Yeah, I think we saw Captain America as well.
Yes, we also saw Civil War together, and Emily was holding my hand when Spider-Man was showing up. It was very cute.
I was so happy, and I knew you were so happy. It was...
Well, speaking of things that make people happy, you've been telling me to watch this movie ever since we met. I think when we first met, you said, hey, you should watch Submarine. By the way, I'm Emily. So, what is it about Submarine that makes it your favorite movie? Take the reins for us.
Well, I think, for a very long time, I had a really, really terrible taste in films. I couldn't watch anything unless it was action or, I don't know, just trashy stuff you didn't really have to concentrate on. And then my dad actually told me about this film because it was directed by Richard Ayoade. And I'm a massive Mighty Boosh fan, and obviously Richard Ayoade is in it. And I was like, oh, okay, fine, I'll give it a go, thinking it would be super pretentious. And it's just not. It doesn't try too hard to be clever or pretentious or, anything like that. It just is a really well written, really beautiful, enjoyable film. And it's what I think I love about it so much is it's so awkward and real as a film. It's hard to explain because it doesn't, everything's very normal. It's about a normal guy, normal things happen to him. But it's just filmed and edited and written in such a way that makes it so interesting, and you care so much about the characters. And there's just not, I don't think there's a single thing about it that I don't love. It's a quintessential indie film that I think everybody should give a go.
Yeah, when I saw it about a week ago, I thought it was very similar to like a John Hughes film, if you know what I mean. Like it focuses on like young problems, but like you said, it tells them in this new and interesting way. Like the one thing I want to bring up here, the main character, if this was any other movie, he'd be written as like a Peter Parker type where he's the underdog and then he's so nice, but everyone's picking on him. And he does have that underdog mentality about him. And Craig Robertson, who's also great in another movie in Netflix now, The Fundamentals of Caring, he is still the underdog, but he's a complete asshole in this movie at points.
Yeah, exactly. He's so awkward, and you feel really sorry for him. But he's got this really overinflated sense of himself. Like he feels like it's his duty to sort out everybody's problems, and his first sort of opening monologue is about how he thinks people are going to react to his death, and there are these candle-lit vigils, and everyone's crying, and he's on the news, and he's got a memorial, when in fact nobody really gives a shit about him to that extent, and that's not really going to happen. So yeah, he's got this sort of, he feels like he's born to sort out other people's problems, when really it's not his place at all, and he feels like he has to, because he thinks all that, when really he's not. He's just a kid.
And he's got his own problems to sort out, especially with his family. Like, his dad is a depressed failure, and he's convinced that his mom is cheating on his dad with this other hippie guru
Yeah.
type guy who reminded me a lot of John Lennon.
Yeah, Graham Purvis. He is a brilliant character, just because he's just such a nutter. He's a bit of a plonker, really. He does these he does these like inspirational talks about the light within us and all that, and he thinks he's been bestowed with this gift, when really he's just a bit of an idiot. And so he was Oliver Tate's mum's sort of childhood love when they were together when they were teenagers. He moves in next door, and as soon as he finds out that Graham and his mum knew each other, Oliver's just on this mission just to get rid of them and to break them up and screw it all up. When really, parents go through troubles and they have their own issues, and he doesn't really understand that it's not his place to sort things out. And when he does, it's you watch it and you think, what is going through your head? Why do you think this is going to help? When he breaks into Graham's house and he like pisses on some videotapes and set fire to his bed sheets, and then hides in the house. What is that going to do? What was going? You really think you're going to get away with that, and that's going to do something? It's not going to do much.
Talking about that scene, like, that guy finds him out and is somewhat okay with it. Like, he reacts kind of like, okay, you're just a kid who's going through a lot of problems. I understand. Maybe I was in the same position as you when I was that age, and he just takes him home. And that's something that I do want to bring up here because it is a part of the show. I know this is your favorite movie, but do you have like a favorite moment or a favorite scene that particularly sticks out to you as to why it's your favorite?
I think. Oh, that's a very good question. I think the bits I love most about it is when it's just unapologetically weird and surreal. So there's a bit near the end of the film where he sees his mum and Graham, the creepy guy, go into the back of Graham's van, and Oliver just freaks out, and he's cycling home, and it's just got this really out of place, really mental sort of violin soundtrack, and behind him is all the fireworks in like a kaleidoscope, and it's just completely out of whack to the whole like beautiful like setting and the way the whole movie is filmed. It's just so out of whack, but it fits so perfectly, and they're not scared to have really weird, surreal moments. Another bit is when Oliver is waiting for Jordana,
His love interest in the movie.
To come over to his house. Richard Ayoade, the director, is not afraid to make us wait and not afraid to make us feel awkward. And so there's a whole, I think it's probably about 4 or 5 minutes of just Oliver sitting by the door, and it's just, you can hear the clock ticking, and it's just focusing on very mundane aspects of his surroundings. And it's such an odd pacing, but it works so well. I think that's what I really love about it. It's just like, it's not afraid to make people feel uncomfortable and weird, because life is not perfectly sequenced. That's how things are. There are ups and downs and all that. And it's not going to be consistent and nice and pretty all the time.
Yeah, and on Richard Ayoade as a director, he does have a very naturalistic style, especially when it comes to dialogue, and that's shown a lot here.
Yeah, my favourite bit of dialogue, I think, in the whole film, it's very minimalistic, and it's just so effective. It's when Oliver's mum and dad are talking, and Oliver's mum sort of brings up this thing about how she used to have long hair, And she asks Lloyd, the dad, you know, do you prefer my hair short or long? And the dad is just this very well-meaning, doesn't want to stir anything up. He'll do whatever makes her happy. Just sort of goes, I like it if however you want it. If you want it short, have it short. And then she goes, so you wouldn't mind if I shaved it all off? And then Oliver says, I think if you want to shave your head, Mum, you should do it. And the mum just stands up and walks away and goes, why would I shave my head, Oliver? What a stupid idea. And I think it just shows how she's just looking for an argument, and she's looking for something, to blame Lloyd for being this sort of complacent husband, when all he's trying to do is just be nice, and make sure that his wife's happy, and he doesn't really know how to do that. But I think that piece of dialogue is just so effective, because it's the subtle ways in which it's written that really says a lot about the character.
Yeah, I mean, less is more, especially with dialogue. And there's one more scene I can bring up with that. I'm trying to remember like all the details of it, because I did have like an idea of what it meant, but it's sort of near the beginning of the movie where Oliver's being picked on at school and the guy's forcing him to say that he's a Gaylord. Where did you stand on that one? Because it had a really cool like sort of double meaning to it that I'm blanking on now, but I remember it being really impressive.
This is when he's already, Oliver started going out with Jordana, or they're about to start going out.
Yeah.
And Mark Pritchard is the bully character. And this is after Jordana's tried to prove to the school that Oliver isn't gay. So she's taken these Polaroids of them kissing and sort of left them around the school. And it's only made things worse for Oliver. He's getting taunted. And he admits he's in a headlock. Mark Pritchard's got him in a headlock. He admits that he's gay, just sort of get out of it. And then Mark Pritchard says he wants Oliver to admit that Jordana's a slut. And Oliver is so prepared to throw himself under the bus, so prepared to go, yeah, I'm gay, that's fine, whatever, just let me go, I don't care. But as soon as someone, is taking the piss out of Jordana, he doesn't want to prove to Jordana that he's like everybody else. He wants to prove to her that, that he's willing to put himself in harm's way, which he does, he gets beaten up, and just absolutely refuses to admit that that she's a slut or whatever. I think that's a real testament to Oliver's character, where he's trying to be the hero a little bit, and ends up getting beaten up anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, and definitely one more key moment in this that I'm sure was kind of hard for you to watch, when they get a dog and Oliver is learning sort of about grief, and he's like, maybe if I poison the dog, she'll love me more. And then it immediately cuts to the scene where the dog that Jordana clearly loves has been run over by a train.
I absolutely love that scene, because, again, it's Oliver trying to make things better. He's bought her this dog with the sole intention of killing it, because Jordana's mother is dying and he wants to make it easier on her. So just as he's about to go and poison it, it gets hit by a train. And, through that, Jordana opens up to him and they get closer and all that. And I was just like, oh, thank God I didn't have to kill it. But it's like, in his head, killing her dog was only going to do good things. He couldn't foresee how him killing her dog would perhaps be a bad thing. That's just a testament to how naive and a little bit stupid he is, and the way that he thinks he can fix everything. It's a very funny. It's very tragic, but the way it's written, they give it a Viking burial, they put it in an oil drum and set it on fire and put it in the middle of a lake. It's just so melodramatic, but just really quite funny.
And now
I never thought never thought I would describe a dog death in a film as funny, but the way that it is written, it is just so awkwardly hilarious.
And now, before we get on to the ending scene, which I've got a lot to say about, have you got any other scenes in this movie that kind of are a favorite or stick out to you that we haven't brought up yet?
I think one of the scenes I really like is it's a very short scene, but it's when Oliver goes outside and sees Graham's van. So Graham is the mystic. He's got this van which has got his like face spray painted on it. He's got like an eye on his forehead and all that. And Oliver just vomits on it, and it's got absolutely no context whatsoever, but you totally accept it. You go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Of course he vomited on the van. Not talked about after that. No context before or after. It's just, Richard Ayoade's writing in the way that this does not have to be explained. This is something which Oliver felt he had to do. It's just, he's so disgusted that he vomits on the bonnet of this horrible van. And that's it. And that's the end of that scene. And then it's not mentioned again. Not even nodded to.
Yeah, and coming up to the ending, I was kind of expecting the movie to go this way, but I was really glad that it did. It ends on sort of a bittersweet note. Oliver and Georgiana are no longer together, but they do you get this feeling that they're going to be friends, but it's done in a very ambiguous way, just like on a beach and then staring out into space. Kind of like what I imagine hanging out with you is like. So where did you stand on the ending when you first saw it?
What I love about the ending is that it's a nod to how well the film is structured. So Oliver previously talks about this nightmare that he has about Jordana. Jordana's got quite an iconic red duffel coat in this film. And he has this dream where he sees someone who he thinks is Jordana on the beach in a red duffel coat, and he runs up to her and starts apologising, and then this person turns around and it's not Jordana, and it's just someone else. And the final scene is Oliver running up to someone on the beach who he thinks is Jordana, and it is. And it's just, the way that they end it is just this unspoken, yeah, I forgive you, we're going to be friends. And they sort of slowly wade further and further into the sea, because originally, Jordana's trying to walk away from Oliver because she doesn't want to hear it. And then he keeps catching up to her, and then they just sort of share a little smile and a little laugh, and then after that, you just know that they're going to be fine. And it's not a super cheesy, reuniting. They're not running towards each other on the beach. They don't hug. Nothing like that. Nothing is said. They don't waste anything on it. They're not trying too hard, but it's still everything that is said within their actions. I think it's a very well done, minimal ending.
Yeah, I think that's a great note to end our analysis on this movie on. And this little feature, and I kind of hope that you didn't remember it before we taped it, but I want you to go back to the time when we first met. I've never seen Submarine. What do you tell me to get me to watch it right away?
It's a quintessential indie film. If you consider yourself someone who loves film and everything about it, you have to watch it.
I think that's probably the quickest, this is why you should watch this film thing I've ever had on the show. You've already broken another record.
Do you know why? Because I tell absolutely everybody to watch it. Because I can't think of anyone who wouldn't enjoy it. One thing I haven't mentioned is the soundtrack.
It's beautiful.
It's 5 or 6 songs, all by Alex Turner, and it's just one of the most beautiful and effective and simple film soundtracks, I think, ever.
Yeah, well, I know you're a big Arctic Monkeys fan.
I'm a little bit biased.
Well, I think that'll wrap us up for this episode. Emily, thanks so much for coming on my show, and thank you again for designing my logo. It's really, really awesome.
Find a better one next time.
Well, for now, if you want to, where can the people find you? And is there anything that you want to plug while you're here?
I don't, I make a few films every now and then. They are on a YouTube channel, which I'm sure the link will be.
Yes, the link will be below.
It's just a lot of silly stuff, but I'm sure there'll be something on there for someone to enjoy.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. And once again, thank you so much for coming on. And dude, you're welcome back anytime. You know I love talking movies with you.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of favourite films, so I'll always be willing to talk about something.
I'm just going to reserve the double for you in case you ever want to come back.
Oh yeah, totally. That's mine.
Yes, and guys, thank you for listening, and as always, you guys can follow me at Nolan Dean 27 and use the hashtag #MoviesAndMe to help continue the conversation. Question for the audience, since we're talking a lot about indie films here, what's your favorite indie movie that you think more people should see? And next week, grandfather of the TUFF channel, that's officially what I'm calling him, Mr. Jack Shipley, is going to be joining us to talk about the Neverending Story, a movie that features probably one of the most depressing scenes I've ever seen, and I've got a bone to pick with him regarding that, so look out for that next week. And if you guys like this episode, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.